Get 6 months of unlimited access to local news for just $2 when you subscribe today. This price won't last long, so lock it in now at duluthnewstribune.com. That's duluthnewstribune.com for 6 months of local news for just $2. Hello Northlanders, it's Monday, March 13th. I'm Wyatt Buckner with the Duluth News Tribune Minute, presented by Minnesota Power Employees Credit Union.
The average MPECU member saves over $785 a year in better rates and lower fees. And with MPECU, every ATM is your ATM. With their free checking program, you get ATM fee reimbursements at any ATM anywhere in the U.S. Check out Minnesota Power Employees Credit Union services online at mpecu.com or visit their offices in downtown Duluth, Arrowhead Road, or Miller Trunk Highway.
Now here's a look at today's headlines. The Minnesota Duluth men's hockey season came to a close Sunday via 3-1 loss to St. Cloud in Game 3 of a best-of-3 NCHC quarterfinal series at Herb Brooks National Hockey Center. After falling 3-1 in Game 1 on Friday, UMD forced a decisive Game 3 with a 5-1 victory on Saturday. The Huskies now advance to the NCHC Frozen Face-Off next weekend at XL Energy Center in St. Paul, where they'll meet North Dakota. Denver and Colorado College will meet in the other semifinal. UMD entered the 2022-23 season with the longest active NCAA tournament streak, but that has snapped at 7 going back to 2014-2015. The Bulldogs finished the year 16-21 for their first losing season since going 14-19-5 in 2012-2013. Meanwhile, the women's team won't be playing on their home ice this week at the NCAA Frozen Four in Duluth. Instead, it'll be Bulldogs' biggest rival coming to Amsoil Arena after Minnesota ousted UMD from the NCAA tournament via a 3-0 victory in a regional final played Saturday at Redder Arena. Minnesota will take on Wisconsin in the national semifinals at 6 p.m. Friday at Amsoil Arena, after Northeastern battles defending champion Ohio State in the first semifinal at 2:30 p.m. The national championship is Sunday at 3 p.m. Almost 12 years after closing its doors, Duluth Public Schools has sold Central High School for $8 million. The district and buyer, STC Building LLC, closed on the sale Friday, the district said in a news release. STC Building was formerly named Chester Creek View LLC, which is linked to a group that has made similar purchases for residential developments. The New York-based company will redevelop the site into a mixed-use development, STC Building said in a separate news release Friday. Design of the project is underway, but the first phase of construction could begin later this year. Demolition of the approximately 213,000 square foot building at 800 East Central Entrance was recently completed and final cleanup will take place this spring, the district said. School district leaders held on to about 22 acres at the Hilltop site, though, on which they're building a new bus garage, a new district administrative headquarters, and renovating a former industrial arts building into a new facilities and maintenance facility. The 1971 building closed in 2011 as part of the school district's RED facilities plan. Now here's Dan Williamson with a special guest.
Thanks, Wyatt. I'm sitting down with one of our colleagues, Duluth News Tribune arts and entertainment reporter Jay Gabler. And Jay, there's a story you're working on that we can find in Wednesday's print edition of the Duluth News Tribune, as well as online prior at duluthnewstribune.com, a milestone for the Lake Superior Railroad Museum.
That's right. It was 50 years ago, this Sunday, that ground was broken for the construction of what we know today as the Lake Superior Railroad Museum. Of course, it was located in the historic former Union Depot, which has been up since 1892, but there was some construction that was required because they had to build a shed over 6 existing train tracks to park the equipment that we now see when we go to visit the Railroad Museum.
What was your biggest takeaway from this story?
I learned a lot about the work that has gone into restoring that equipment that you see when you visit the Lake Superior Railroad Museum. You know, if you are younger than, 150 years old, so that is all of us, you don't remember the days when steam engines were, plying the rails, and that was a routine way you would get back and forth across the country. So you might have the impression, oh, great, they had this steam engine, or they had this, historic 19th century passenger car. They just sort of rolled onto the tracks, and boy, it looks great. So cool they have it here. Well, it is cool they have it there, but it didn't roll onto the tracks necessarily in that condition originally. This is equipment that served a long time, that was well used, that was very well worn in some cases when it came to the museum. And it has taken an army of volunteers, years and years, to renovate just about every piece of equipment you see in that museum. A lot of it that you can see, the beautiful paint jobs, the refinishings, all of that, and a lot of it that you don't see, just careful restoration of frames that have rotted, retooling of parts that you can't even get anymore. They do whatever they need to get these pieces of equipment looking as close to their original condition as possible.
Well, I'm intrigued. For our readers, for our audience, what do you hope they take away from this article?
We all know the Lake Superior Railroad Museum. It's an iconic hub of Duluth tourism and something we all love to visit, and the depot, which of course has other attractions. But I thought it was interesting to think about the museum in the context of Duluth's rail history, which is very much ongoing. Of course, the depot became an arts and cultural heritage center in the early 70s after original rail service stopped there in 1969. But then, even as the Lake Superior Railroad Museum was being established, rail service returned to the depot. Amtrak ran there from 1977 to 1985 with trains, a little bit earlier with buses. And then there's discussion now about bringing passenger rail service, in addition to, of course, the ongoing North Shore Scenic Railroad, which you can ride up the shore, but actually restoring a passenger connection to the Twin Cities through a project that's now called the Northern Lights Express. Really interesting to think about how this historic building, which dates to 1892, and of course there were other stations there prior to that, how this spot in Duluth has been at the hub of a lot of railroad history in Duluth, past and possibly future.
Very interesting. Jay, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Dan.
And again, you can find this article in Wednesday's print edition of the Duluth News Tribune, as well as online prior at duluthnewstribune.com. Wyatt, back to you.
Thanks, Dan. Now here's a look at your forecast, brought by the News Tribune's hockey podcast, Bulldog Insider.
Happy Monday, Duluth area. Partly cloudy skies today with the temperature topping out around 28 degrees. Lighter wind from the northeast, about 5 to 10 miles an hour. Overnight tonight, some clearing expected. Temperatures falling to around 6 degrees to kick off your Tuesday. Then a lot of sunshine expected with high temperatures right above the freezing mark. Getting into your Wednesday, more clouds expected. More in the mercury as well, up to 40 degrees with a slight chance for a little bit of a light wintry mix Wednesday night and into Thursday. That transitions over to some snow with a high temp around 37 and then back into the 20s with snow expected on Friday. I'm Storm Tracker meteorologist Jesse Ritka.
Thank you to Bulldog Insider for their support. The weekly podcast, hosted by News Tribune reporter Matt Wellens and My 9 commentator Zach Schneider, features University of Minnesota Duluth hockey players, coaches, and alumni. New episodes drop every Thursday on duluthnewstribune.com or wherever you also get this podcast. Reporting for today's episode was done by Matt Wellens and Jimmy Lovren. Thank you for listening to Duluth News Tribune Minute. Have a great day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.